Hello and welcome back to the DFS Premier League show brought to you by VIP-bet.com. I am your host, Kevin DeVries. Joining me, as always, over there is my good friend and partner in crime, Rob Langevin. Now, Rob, we've missed a couple weeks because we were both traveling. I am continuing to be traveling, hence this hotel room background with the mirror that shows the TV that I have OBS up on. Not to get too inside baseball on everybody, but we do have 5 matches at the weekend. We have a normal slate, although none of the big teams are really on it. So how do you think people should really play this week without some of those big stars?
Well, the first thing that jumps out to me is when you see the high price values of some of the guys on the slate, you're like, wait, why is such a big value associated to such a a lackluster name or names on the slate? So basically, what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to lower your expectations on names and just not worry about price to build your team, because the prices are inflated for certain guys that have gone up in price. I'll mention one right now, but I'll mention it again. Josh King is the highest he's been all year. He's $1,100 more than the highest price he's ever been all year on this slate. It's warranted because he is one of the better players, but I think it's more of a opponent this week for Bournemouth, and the amount of names and quality of names on the slate. So it's going to be an interesting week to plug and play. There's going to be a lot of differentials. So anybody at home, definitely watch for differentials. A lot of 4 of these teams have played, in the last 3 days. So definitely check fitness levels before you make your team and commit to it. And definitely always check lineups as soon as they are announced to make sure that you do have a starting 9 on your team.
Yeah, and to DraftKings' credit, about 10 or so minutes after lineups have been announced, it'll show you in your lineup if a player you have is playing or not. So credit to them. We're just going to get right into it because
you get a sexy little green check.
You do. We're just going to try to plow through this because I am on hotel Wi-Fi and people are being quiet right now, and I'm not sure how long that is going to last. First, for me, for Southampton, talking about lineup issues, they rotate that 3 of, wow, absolutely blank just then, of Redmond and Tadic and Buffal. They're all kind of in and out of everything. So be sure to check to see which one of those are starting this week. But the obvious choice up front here is Manolo Gabbiadini. Although he's very expensive, like you said, some of these players are much higher than they've been in the past. But in the great Gabagoo's defense, obviously it has 4 goals and an assist in just 5 matches where he's played longer than an hour. The one that he got hurt in, and then the sub appearance when he came back excluded. So, it looks pretty likely that he's going to score. Up against Hull, who have the worst away defense in the league, is not a bad option. At the other end, first of all, if you don't want to spend that much money, I know you and I both like James Ward-Prowse as a player. I think there's a chance he gets an assist this week as well, even though he does sit a little bit deeper. But the crazy thing to me is that he's significantly more expensive in this format than he is in the FPL format, despite the fact that he kind of lines up well with that system. He doesn't really do a lot of crossing or anything like that, so I found that to be interesting. But at the other end, not only do Hull have the worst away defense, they also have the worst away attack, which brings somebody like Jack Stevens into the mind, because he's at 3,200. He's super cheap. He's definitely going to start. And I kind of just have this weird gut feeling that Southampton are finally going to show up. Maybe because I need them to in the official game, considering how much I doubled down on Southampton players. But I think Southampton could do quite well this week against a Hull team that are definitely struggling. As for a player I do not like this week, how about Kamil Grosicki? He came in, he was really good like the first 5 or 6 weeks he was available, but lately things have kind of tanked. He's been getting 5s and 7s a lot lately, and at his price, 7,100, you just don't really want that. And like I said, I think Southampton keeps it clean. I already have a Southampton defender, and I think I brought in the keeper as well, so you don't want to play against yourself, is kind of a wide view of how to take this. But anyway, I think Southampton do keep this clean. I'm going to say 2-0.
That's a good call. I I mentioned differentials in this game, and there's a couple for Hull, but nothing like that you'd actually want to commit to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Lazar Markovic is only 4,000 in this, so if he gets a start, that could be a good boon to your fantasy output. I agree with you. I agree with your 2-0. I think Southampton gets on the board early. Hull cannot keep anything on the road clean or in less than multiples, so it's definitely looking like it's going to be that way.
Yeah, I just scrolled down and saw Buffal at 4,700. If he actually plays, that would be a very interesting option because he is a very dangerous player on the ball. All right, now we're going to skip ahead a little bit and hit you for Sunderland versus Bournemouth.
Yeah, Bournemouth is all about one guy. He's probably going to be the most owned guy this week. That's Josh King, but you know he's not like I mentioned before. He's the highest priced guy. He's the highest he's been all year at 8,000. The previous game slate, he was 6,900. That's an $1,100 increase. That's a big jump in price. But pretty much everyone's going to own him because of the names on the slate. So I'm looking elsewhere. I mean, I'm probably going to roster him, but for Bournemouth, you know, I like this game with them. I think that Sunderland are in tatters right now, so I'm probably going to be loading up on the offense and the defensive side of this ball. I like Arda Buric in this game, 4,900. He's 14-12 in his last two. I know they only have one clean sheet in their last five, but you know he's getting some save points. He had 10 saves versus Tottenham, I believe. So you know he does give you enough of a a goalkeeper, you know, points to warrant his 4,900, which is pretty much medium of the road right now.
Yeah.
Guy I don't like in this, just pick a Sunderland defender. I don't think Sunderland is going to do anything on the ball. They're going to be, I think Bournemouth, the way that Bournemouth presses and the way they've been scoring, I don't think there's any chance that the Sunderland defense can do anything and move forward. You know, the Oviedos of the world who had a boon for their fantasy for a while because they were getting forward and crossing the ball. I think those days are over. I think Sunderland's a sinking ship, and I think Bournemouth wins this game easily and clean. I think it's 3-0.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, if Bournemouth get going, they just rack up the goals. My opinion of them has been a little bit shifted because I was actually at that Bournemouth-Tottenham game, and they just offered so little going forward. But, yeah, I mean, if you look at that as the outlier and just say it was against the best defense in the league, it makes things easier. But it has, like, mellowed my hype a little bit on Bournemouth. But I agree with you. I think Bournemouth do win, but I think Sunderland may just make things interesting. I'll say 2-1 Bournemouth.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you say that because they did, you know, Bournemouth did put in 4 against Middlesbrough, and Middlesbrough's not a slouch defensively
either. They are down to 10th now, though, although that is after that match. But.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's true.
So I'm just saying, like, I think they are like they are the more offensive team in this. So I would avoid most Sunderland players, including offensive players. And Charlie Daniels is a good shout too at 4,800.
Yeah. Not a bad idea there. All right, I'll come back to you folks here with Stoke versus West Ham. I like a lot of the Stoke options here, but a lot of them are just a little bit too overpriced for my taste. Like Shaqiri at 8,500, you have Arnautovic at 8,100. That's just a little bit more than I'm looking to spend. I don't mind Andre Ayew, to be honest with you, although he is kind of gambly. So we'll see if he does anything really of note here. It'll be interesting to see if they start Jonathan Calleri, though, because obviously he is only 4,300, young Argentine prospect, very talented player, but has not done much in the Premier League. But I do think he'd be an interesting punt, especially if you're really looking, you mentioned differentials, looking for a crazy differential. Listen, he has 2 shots on target all season, right? He's only started 2 matches. But with Carroll seemingly out for a long time, that'll be interesting. Also, if Diafra Sakho actually got a start, I think Diafra Sakho is the most talented striker at this club. And he's been largely absent due to injuries and everything. But if he actually played, I think that's somebody that would be of interest to me. On the defensive side, Stoke has some interesting options. I mean, I like Bruno Martins-Indi at 3,300. I was a huge Peters guy like 2 years ago, and he just never put things together. He doesn't get forward the way you'd like him to. So I'm not really a big fan there. So I'm just going to stick with my dislikes being the super expensive Stoke guys. Like, I like what Xherdan Shaqiri has done lately. I just don't think that he keeps doing it. He's such a frustrating player. It's why he's at Stoke and not Bayern Munich, where he came from. It's so inconsistent. It's possible that this is a vein of form, and I'm just going to get caught out here, but I'm kind of willing to take that risk at 8,500. There are a lot of players that I'd much rather have. Oh, as for score, an annoying 1-1.
Ooh, yeah, that's probably a good call. This game has stale all over it. I don't think there's going to be much going on from a fantasy perspective. The goals will probably come from very obtuse options that not many people are going to own, and it'll probably be the game winners for the week. It'll probably boost someone's lineup enough because the person that they're rostering is from this game, scored, and isn't owned in a lot of leagues. 1-1 is a good call. Yeah, the prices for Stoke are just a bad turnoff. Arnautovic and Shaqiri at those prices, they kind of give you a sour taste in your mouth because they're guys that have burned everybody before at cheaper prices. Now you want to pay the extra 20% on the additional, and it just gives you an awful taste in your mouth. So I'm probably avoiding most players in this game. One player I do want to give a tout for, Andy Carroll is not out. So look at Manuel Lanzini at 7,500.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a huge Lanzini guy, and for good reason. All right,
love him.
Coming like in real life, we've been to his house, sent him letters, held jukeboxes outside his window. Nothing's working for us thus far.
Yeah, he sent back the edible arrangement though, so I don't know. He's not a fruit guy.
Fair enough. All right, we will come to you now to talk to us about West Brom versus Leicester. Obviously, West Brom not the alluring team they were at one time because they used to have like Rondon and Chadley and Phillips, and it was all interesting. The defense was scoring goals. You had Dawson and McCauley at the back. Things have been pretty dire lately. How are you seeing this one?
Yeah, I think it's the Pulis. We've got to a certain point precipice and we're pumping the brakes. Is that exactly what's happening?
40 points.
I like Leicester. Yeah, exactly. I like Leicester in this game. I like them to probably do well. They played well in the weekend, the midweek slate, so I expect them to do well again. They got unlucky with a Robert Huth own goal, but that's neither here nor there. The guy I like this week, Christian Fuchs. You need a defender who can facilitate. Christian Fuchs is that guy. It's either him or Charlie Daniels this week for the high price defender, and then you fill in with Kevin mentioned a Southampton defender. Yoshida is a good one too, and he mentioned Jack Stevens. That's a perfect pairing for me with a high price guy and a low price Southampton guy. Fuchs just does enough to warrant his price level. He is involved enough. I know that there's no bonus system in this, which makes him a little bit sexier in the official game. But in this, he's going to take enough set pieces, be up enough. I think West Brom are going to be on the back foot enough for him to be forward and not be worried about being defensive. On the dislikes, I know the prices are inflated, but when you look at a guy like Riyad Mahrez, you expect more. I know that we're expecting basically to turn back the clock and go 12 months ago and have it be Riyad Mahrez. That person now is Josh King because Josh King is basically Riyad Mahrez 2017. At 8,300, he basically is falling in line with everybody else that's high priced, but he's basically low priced. So I mean, I can see why people are going to be like, oh, I think this is a sucker bet, to be honest with you. At 8,300. People are going to be like, oh, Riyad Mahrez is cheaper than Xherdan Shaqiri. So I think I'm going to run with that. He's getting by on name alone right now. At 8,300, he's only averaged 9 points over the last 5 games. That's not enough from a guy with Mahrez's talent or Leicester's capability. As far as the score in this game, I'm not really positive that Leicester is going to keep it clean. I think West Brom may get a sneaky goal, maybe like a Hal Robinson canoe header or something weird or wonky. So I'll say it'll be 2-1 Leicester.
Yeah, West Brom have the most set-piece goals in the Premier League this year, so always a good bet on them, which makes McCauley and Dawson infinitely ownable, just because there's always that chance if you want to take that gamble. I'm going to say... 2-1's not a bad shout. I'll go 2-2 and say Albion actually show up in this one. Maybe a little Matty Phillips action. It's been a while. I shouldn't believe in them so much, but I had a really good time when I was at their ground against Liverpool, even though they ended up losing that one. But it was a good time. I'm gonna believe in them. I should not believe in them. Pulis' record, you make a very good point, is awful. Once any team he's managing gets past 40 points, it's really, really bad. I wish I could remember the exact statistic, but it's real bad. All right, well then we'll have
Like a giant. They're like a giant bungee cord.
Yeah, we'll have
like a giant bungee cord. They pull it until it stretches and then stop.
You're like, nah, never mind. All right, we'll have you wrap up the match stuff here with Crystal Palace versus Burnley. Crystal Palace put on a very good performance yesterday against Tottenham. Burnley, yep. Oh man, they're basically doing that Pulis thing where they just stop trying, but they might not be safe yet, which is a little more dangerous. It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for them. What do you think we'll see in this one?
Yeah. Well, the thing that jumps out to me is Burnley's is an awful team on the road, so that's automatically a dislike right there for defenders and even Tom Heaton. Though I think Tom Heaton is probably someone you could look at this week for DFS because of the saves, because I think Crystal Palace is probably going to do enough to pepper the goal. Getting back to the main point of this week is how everybody's overpriced. Did you know that Andres Townsend is the most expensive player on the slate at $9,000?
That's
and
disgusting.
Then you ask yourself, be like, wait, what? And then you realize that in the last six games, he's averaged more points than any other player on the slate except for Christian Benteke.
Yeah, he's been very good lately. Yeah, that's a great stat.
In DFS, he's a sneaky good play. I think Benteke he's basically just percentage points ahead of him for points per week.
Yeah.
But at 9,000, and considering you're going to have a lot of money to spend because you're trying to fit in pieces that are, like I said, differential. So you're not going to have six guys that are 8,500. You're going to have two guys that are 4,000, through the midfield and the forward. You're going to need to spend the money somewhere. And I think Andres Townsend isn't a bad play. I think he's going to be lower owned because of the price and his name. It's basically the opposite of the Riyad Mahrez, thing I just said. So keep an eye out for Andres Townsend. Just make sure you check the lineup. He may be, in or out of the lineup. Palace has played. They're going to play. This is their third game in 7 days, so keep an eye on that.
Yeah, because they said they were going to rotate midweek, and then what's that thing? Didn't?
Yeah, they didn't, and they did not. My dislikes are the Burnley defenders. Just pick one. I know they have a few guys in there that are very low priced. Ben Mee, I know he just got hurt, but. There's nobody there of real value. They don't give anything on the offensive end. I think Burnley, as a collective unit, their main starting 4 defenders have 1 goal and 3 assists on the year. I believe is what the total was. Last time I checked, it's god awful. They don't do enough to contribute through the front.
In my
especially
mind,
in the
Michael
DFS format
Keane
where
has
you
scored
need
infinite headers, but it's possible that's just not true.
Yeah, that could be. I think that's probably in the last maybe 8 or 10 games. I don't have the sheet in front of me because I was looking at that for the official game stuff. But Burnley defensively is not somebody I want to jump on here.
Yeah. Also, for score, really annoying that Mamadou Sakho got hurt as badly as he did because he was a player that I really liked back into the season.
Yeah, the score. I don't expect it to be crazy, but I expect Crystal Palace to get the win. I'm just going to call it 1-0 and just levy my bets here.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 2-1. I think losing Sakho is why I think Sakho is why they started finally keeping clean sheets. Without him, I don't think they'll be as secure at the back. But the player who I can't pronounce, so I just keep referring to as Mila Jovovich, the actress, is he does a very good job of protecting that back line as well. So I think that they will be enough to hold Burnley. I mean, Andre Gray is Burnley's best striker, and he doesn't even have a shot on target in the last 5 matches. But I'll say Burnley get a scrappy goal somewhere just because of Palace's defense kind of being in shambles at the moment. But I do think Palace win. I'll say 2-1. All right.
Wait, you're not a big James Tompkins believer?
He's also
what happened?
hurt.
You're not a big James Tompkins believer?
I think he's also hurt. It's going to be Dan and Kelly.
I think they're all hurt.
That's their excuse. No. All right. Where do you think we're going to see points this week with this kind of weird situation this week?
Well, there's only 5 teams on the slate, which is usually one. It's just one less than we're normally accustomed to 6. It's probably going to be right around 100, 110. Yeah, I'd say it's pretty low. I think it's pretty low.
I agree to be pretty low as well because not only are they not big players, all these matchups are kind of evenish. Really, aside from Bournemouth, Sunderland, and maybe Southampton, Hull, the rest of them are going to kind of be close, cagey affairs. It would seem. I agree with you. I think it'll be in the 1-teens, maybe 120, but it could very well be on that lower end that you think. All right, why don't you run us through your team, and then we'll get out of here.
Yeah, I made a team real quick. I got Boric and Gold, Charlie Daniels, Maya Yoshida in defense. Through the midfield, I got Markovic and James Ward-Prowse. Forwards, I have Josh King, Jamie Vardy, and in the utility, I went with the most expensive player because I have money in the bank, so I went with Andres Townsend. Why not?
Fair enough. My team here on screen, Fraser Forster at the back. Took the most expensive keeper. Remember when I used to say to never do that? Whoops. Bruno Martins, Indy, doubling up on the Southampton defense with Jack Stevens there. James Ward-Prowse, who I mentioned. Wilfried Zaha, I'm going the counter Townsend thing. He's been playing very, very well, and weirdly it hasn't been registering in the DraftKings format as much as Townsend lately. I'm thinking that that'll kind of counter this week. I also have Benteke in there. Looked pretty good against Tottenham's defense. It's always weird to judge these Belgian matchups, like when Lukaku plays Tottenham, because Toby and Jan obviously know him intimately from Belgium camps. Same with Benteke, which make things a little interesting. But he challenged them at times, so I do think he's going to continue scoring. Also, he has the most goals over the last 5 matches with 5, so somebody to keep an eye on. I also brought in Josh King. You know, we both love him, obviously. And like I said, I just have this weird gambly gut feeling that Matty Phillips is actually going to do something. He's the one taking those set pieces that they keep heading into the net. So figure as far as a $6,300 gamble goes, that's worth it for me. But yeah, we're leaving this a little short, but like I said, running on silence and internet Wi-Fi, so gonna get out of here without incident, knock on wood. So why don't you tell the folks where they can find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Smokey_Loogie, or you can find my writings on FPL and all types of good stuff on Razzball.com.
Yeah, and I am your other host, Kevin DeVries. I host the EPL Roundtable, and then do the FPL Roundtable with Rob. You can find that at EPL Roundtable on Twitter or on iTunes. I'm also the lead fantasy writer over for Goal.com. I just put out a piece this morning on sneaky Saturday strikers, which is low-owned strikers that are playing on the Saturday. And then today I'll be writing an article for tomorrow about Sunday replacements, in case whoever you bring in doesn't pan out, because in the goal game they do allow you to substitute out players that have been disappointing, so keep an eye on that. Also, always check out the eaglesbeak.com. They always have good stuff over there. And I feel like I'm missing somebody, but sorry to whoever that is. Oh, VIP-bet.com. Right. The people that put us onto this very show.
You're already there.
Right, you did it.
You're already there. Stay there.
But yeah, also, obviously, huge thanks to them for supporting the show and making sure that we get to come to you every week. Cough. Sorry for the last 2 weeks. To bring you all this DFS info. Hopefully your teams do well this week. Maybe not as well as ours, but hopefully they do well. And we'll catch you next time.
We're looking forward to hearing from you. Get in touch with us. VIP Bet, your place to win.